From betrayals in the highest levels of power to secret organizations that controlled entire nations, here are 5 ancient spy networks that ruined kingdoms. Number 5. The Cult of the Serpent. We've all heard stories of ancient civilizations with military might, like the Roman Empire or the Mongols. But one of the most feared empires in ancient times was the Assyrian Empire, which existed between the 19th and 7th centuries BC. The empire was known for its brutality and ruthlessness, often subjecting conquered peoples to horrifying punishments and tortures. One of their most infamous practices was using human shields, where they would force civilians to stand in front of their chariots to protect them from incoming projectiles. This practice can be seen depicted in various pieces of art found in the ruins of their cities, giving us a glimpse into their terrifying ways. Some have even suggested that this was the origin of the modern-day military tactic of using one-sewn troops as human shields. Now this is where things get interesting, because much of what we know about the Assyrians comes from the Bible. In the book of Nahum, it describes a cult that was dedicated to the worship of a deity named Nebo. This cult was led by King Baladan, who had formed an alliance with the Egyptians against the Babylonians. When the Babylonians came to destroy the city of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, King Baladan sought help from the cult of Nebo. They promised him that if he sacrificed his son to the god, then Nebo would save the city from destruction. However, when the Babylonians arrived, Nebo did not intervene, and the city of Nineveh was destroyed, bringing an end to the Assyrian Empire. Could this cult have been the reason behind the fall of such a powerful kingdom? Or was it just another example of the Assyrians' disregard for human life? You decide. Number 4. The assassination of Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is undoubtedly one of the most well-known figures in ancient history. His life and legacy have been studied and debated for centuries. One of the most famous events in Caesar's life was his assassination in the year 44 BC. According to Plutarch, Caesar was warned by his wife Calpurnia not to go to the Senate on the Ides of March, as she had a premonition that something bad would happen. However, Caesar decided to go anyway, likely due to peer pressure from his friends. As he entered the Senate, he was surrounded by a group of senators who began stabbing him with their daggers. Caesar was stabbed more than 20 times before finally succumbing to his wounds. Among those who plotted against Caesar was Gaius Cassius Longinus and Marcus Junius Brutus, 2 men who were close friends of Caesar. Cassius was jealous of Caesar's power and influence and believed that he had become too ambitious. Brutus, on the other hand, was part of the Roman nobility and believed that Caesar's rise to power threatened the traditional power structure of Rome. While these 2 men played a significant role in the conspiracy, it was also aided by a network of informants and spies who provided intelligence on Caesar's movements and activities. These spies likely consisted of individuals from various social classes and backgrounds who had their own reasons for wanting Caesar dead. Some may have been loyalists who opposed Caesar's reforms and wanted to restore the traditional order. Others may have been part of rival political factions seeking to eliminate Caesar and take his place. It's also possible that some were simply opportunists who saw the conspiracy as a chance to advance their own interests. The assassination of Caesar had a profound impact on the course of Roman history. It brought an end to the Roman Republic and paved the way for the rise of the Roman Empire. Without the secret network of informants and spies who aided in Caesar's downfall, it's possible that Rome may have continued on a different path. No. 3. The poisoned chalice. In the annals of ancient history, few names echo with the notoriety that Genghis Khan does. Born in 1162 AD, this Mongolian warrior and emperor is considered one of the most successful military commanders in history. He is credited with founding the Mongol Empire, which became the largest contiguous land-based empire in history, stretching from the Pacific Ocean to Eastern Europe. But what many people don't know is that Genghis Khan's empire was nearly brought to its knees by a poisoned chalice. The story goes back to the siege of the Western Xia dynasty in 1179 AD. Genghis Khan had already defeated many of his enemies and was now focused on conquering the Western Xia. During the battle, his brother Temujin was killed by an arrow, leaving Genghis Khan devastated. But soon after his brother's death, something strange happened. Genghis Khan started to feel ill. At first, it was just a slight fever, but soon he was bedridden with a high fever and excruciating stomach pain. The imperial physicians were baffled and couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. But as Genghis Khan grew weaker, one of his advisors came forward with a theory. He believed that someone had poisoned the emperor's wine goblet. And while the culprit was never caught, the story doesn't end there. After recovering from his illness, Genghis Khan went on to conquer many more lands, and his empire grew to become one of the largest in history. But as the years passed, more and more stories emerged of mysterious illnesses plaguing his descendants. In fact, 6 of Genghis Khan's grandsons died under mysterious circumstances, leading many to believe that they, too, were poisoned. It's possible that there was a secret network of assassins or spies working against the Mongol Empire, taking out key members of Genghis Khan's family and disrupting his bloodline. But the truth is, no one knows for sure. No. 2. The fall of the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty was a significant period in Chinese history, lasting from 206 BC to 220 AD. It is considered one of the golden ages of China, a time of peace and prosperity. But like all empires, the Han Dynasty eventually fell. And it turns out that a secret network of spies may have played a role in its demise. You see, during the late Han Dynasty, China was in turmoil. There were rebellions and uprisings everywhere, and the central government was struggling to maintain control. In the midst of this chaos, a group of eunuchs emerged, who wielded considerable power and influence. The eunuchs were a group of castrated men who served in the imperial palace, primarily responsible for serving the emperor and his household. But over time, they had gained considerable power and wealth, and they used this power to protect their own interests and those of their allies. They formed a secret network of informants and spies who kept tabs on the emperor and the court. And when anyone in the court seemed to threaten their power, they would use their influence to have them removed or even assassinated. One of their main targets was the general Dong Zhuo, who was a strong and capable military leader who had been put in charge of putting down the rebellions. The eunuchs saw Dong Zhuo as a threat to their power and began spreading rumors about him, accusing him of plotting to usurp the throne. They then enlisted the help of the emperor's mother, Empress Dowager He, and convinced her to have Dong Zhuo removed from power. Soon after, Dong Zhuo was executed, and the eunuchs' grip on the Han Dynasty became even stronger. But their power was short-lived. The general Cao Cao eventually led a coup, overthrowing the eunuchs and taking control of the empire. He then established the Cao Dynasty, ending the Han Dynasty once and for all. Number 1. The Order of the Dragon. The Order of the Dragon, also known as the Drachia, was a secret organization founded in the Byzantine Empire in the 8th century AD. Its purpose was to protect the Christian world from the forces of Islam. Over time, the order grew in power and influence, amassing vast wealth and controlling large swaths of land in the eastern Mediterranean. But their true motives were far more sinister. You see, the real purpose of the Order of the Dragon is to acquire power and wealth for its members through any means necessary. They used espionage, blackmail, and even assassination to achieve their goals. They had a spy network that stretched from Constantinople to Jerusalem. Their spies infiltrated the courts of rival rulers, gathering intelligence and spreading disinformation. They bribed officials to turn a blind eye to their activities and assassinated anyone who stood in their way. The order became so powerful that it was able to manipulate the Byzantine emperors themselves, using them as pawns in their game for power. But their reign of terror finally came to an end in 1204 AD, when the Fourth Crusade, a holy expedition sanctioned by the Pope to capture Jerusalem, sacked Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire. The Crusaders looted the city, and the Order of the Dragon lost its power base in the east. Thank you for watching. Which ancient spy network impressed you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.